Good morning all to another blessed Sunday here at Beyond the Cross. Today we will be looking at Genesis 2 and see what it says and what implications it can have. So with no further delay, let's start. Verse 1 Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. By this time everything that we have around us have been created. Now in chapter 1 we mentioned the time frame of the creation. We cannot say with absolute certainty how long it took for the creation to happen because God is out of time as we measure it. The creation could have happened in the blink of an eye, or it could have taken billions of years as we measure time. We just do not know. Verse 2 And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Verse 3 And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Since we divided our week up in 7 days, being the same as the creation and the rest day, we cannot definitely say that the seventh day was a Saturday or even a Sunday. But every seventh day we rest according to the scriptures. Some claim the Saturday as the seventh day while others claim the Sunday to be the seventh day. As a matter of fact, any day of the week could have been the seventh day. Verse 4 These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Verse 5 And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. Now the question arises, was all the seeds created, or was the plants that bear the seeds created first? As per the scriptures, the plants were created before the seeds. So for those with the question of the chicken before the egg, the chicken was first. Verse 6 But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. Only once the first rains fell it would seem did the plants start to bear fruits and seeds. Verse 7 And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Even though man was created as indicated in Genesis 1 on the sixth day, here we hear again how man was given his soul and consciousness about himself. Verse 8 And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Now we have a look at the creation of the Garden of Eden, a sanctified space where God could openly commune with the man he created. But this does not mean that God did not create others as indicated in Genesis 1. The creation of the Garden of Eden happened after the rest day it would seem. The Garden of Eden was also created in what we now know to be a very dry region or desert region. Verse 9 And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. To show man his greatness, this garden was created in a region where lush gardens should not be without careful tendering. The tree of knowledge, good and evil. This might seem like God would test mankind as to his obedience and his free will that God gave him. Verse 10 And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. Verse 11 The name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Verse 12 And the gold of that land is good, there is bdellium and the onyx stone. Verse 13 And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. Verse 14 And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Many speculate as to the exact location of the Garden of Eden, but it is revealed in the previous verses, and even though the names of the rivers might have been changed by man, by the time that the book of Genesis was written, the names of the rivers were still the same. Verse 15 And the Lord God took the man, and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. So Adam was the first gardener as God created him. Because of all the fruits and berries available to man, he had no need to hunt for his food at this stage. Verse 16 And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayst freely eat. Verse 17 But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, For in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. Was this command by God given to man to test his free will or his curiosity? As we know, all animals are curious and will investigate, but man is worse. Because of his free will, he is bound to do exactly the opposite of what he is told. Just take a modern-day example. When standing on a ledge and your guide tells you not to look down, you are bound to look down out of curiosity or fear. Verse 18 And the Lord God said, It is not good that the man should be alone, I will make him an helpmeet for him. Verse 19 And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Now this is where things start to get confusing for many. The animals were already made during the creation as per Genesis 1 and now the animals are created again after man has been created. This is actually not as confusing as it might seem. Since God already created the animals of the earth, he reformed them according to what he already created to show all the animals to Adam so that he can find his equal among the animal species that roam the world. Verse 20 And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field, but for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. Verse 21 And the Lord God caused the deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. Verse 22 And the rib, which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. Verse 23 And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Now Adam had an equal to share the Garden of Eden with him. Verse 24 Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Verse 25 And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. At the end of chapter 2 of the book of Genesis it clearly tells us that neither Adam nor Eve was so self-aware that they concerned themselves with covering themselves. Just like all the animals around the world, they seem not to be self-aware to the point that they would want to cover themselves with clothing. But another thing, here it also clearly states that God only created man and woman, the one for the other. If it was so intended, God would have created another man for Adam, but God did not. Now verse 24 is an interesting one. If Adam and Eve were the only humans on this earth, where would the sons find wives to become one flesh? If Adam and Eve were the only humans, would the sons take their sisters as their partners? It is not clear, but it would seem that this can create a conundrum among the scholars of human biology. This gives us something else to think about. Thank you for watching and I hope that you will have a blessed week ahead. Please like and subscribe. Till we see each other again.